Truly don't think that people understand what is actually happening right now. The battle with Trump and the Federal Reserve is much deeper than we think. In today's video, I'm going to take you back to 1907, and we're going to fast forward all the way 113 years to 2025, going into 2026. And I'm going to work to give you the facts, figures, numbers, logic, so you can make informed decisions. But here's the thing. Listen to me. Blind leadership is dead. Trusting someone with your finances is dead. Just going into a religious system and trusting the pastor is dead. We're moving from centralized systems to decentralized systems, from religious structures to relationship, from external health, fixing the symptom, to fixing the problem. That is why you see absolute chaos ensuing. Study Ray Dalio's Changing World Order. What you're seeing is everything coming back into alignment. And for things to come back into alignment, chaos must ensue. But here's the thing. You have the opportunity to get your shit together physically, spiritually, and financially and become a warrior in a garden versus a gardener in a war. We have plenty of gardeners out there at war right now. And what I mean by that is people in the streets protesting, going back and forth, left and right against right. It's all by design. You're not going to beat the way that God created the flow of nature. The tide goes in, the tide goes out, economy cycle, relationship cycle, and money cycles. In 1907, we had tons of different currencies. Stable coins coming in. In 1907, we had a huge collapse. And then a group of people, 7 people, specifically JP Morgan and many other bankers, came together on Jekyll Island in 1913 and created the Federal Reserve, which is not federal nor reserve. They created a centralized banking system that controlled money supply and job markets. Before 1913, our money was attached to reality. We had gold, we had silver, we had land, and our labor meant ownership. And after 1913, your labor is monetized by credit. Went into 1920s, the roaring 20s, and 1913, they collapsed the system again. And that's when it all started. Went into the Great Depression, our grandparents got rocked. And after World War II, that's when it really shifted. The American dream was born. The American dream in the middle class is a new concept. The ownership was rooted in debt monetization. We became debt slaves. They package it up in safety, pensions, good job, good career, get a 401k. Well, it worked back there in the 1950s. It worked in the 1960s and maybe the 1970s going into the 1990s. But after 1971, when they detached us from the gold standard, which made our money fiat, fake, that's when the real chaos started. From 1971 to 2025 and going into 2026, the wealth gap has become massive. We're at 120% debt to income ratio. There's more debt than there is income in the world. In America. China's at 300% debt to income ratio. Japan's at 500% debt to income ratio. America is the dominant currency. Like, really rationalize this and think about this. America is the dominant currency in the world. Has collapsed 96 to 97% since the Federal Reserve was created, which is not federal, nor is it reserve. The number one currency in the world has collapsed 96 to 97%. There's your hint. Now do you see why silver's at an all-time high? Now do you see why gold's at an all-time high? Now do you see why Bitcoin is emerging as an asset that you should maybe go into? Larry Fink, if you're worried about your country debasing your currency, guys, this is much bigger than digital assets. This is much bigger than cryptocurrency. I don't care if you invest in crypto. What I care is that you understand how the system actually works. How many of you know that you're paid in someone else's debt? You trade time for debt. When you get paid, your paycheck that goes into the bank gets lent out 9 times over. The only way to keep the system going is debt expansion. So when they lower interest rates, and they print a ton of money, that hard-earned income that you get becomes devalued. Inflation is a silent taxation. So before 1907, guys, we owned stuff. And I'm going to tell you, and I'll lose some of you right here. Spiritually, we are transitioning into no more blind leadership, decentralized systems financially, spiritually, and religion. And we're moving into a system where we will trust but verify. We'll be able to feel and use discernment. And the best way to do that is to get your shit together physically, spiritually, and financially through discipline. Building discipline structures, systems, and processes. Get out of the get rich quick. And I'm here to tell you, as after February going into March, you're going to see the people who are truly, truly doing good for humanity. Brokers, financial systems, anybody in the financial space that is not doing good for humanity will be exposed. Mark my word. The era of blind leadership is dead. What's done in darkness is going to come to light. So what should you do? Should you go out and protest and fight? No, you should get your shit together. Let God do what God does. So I'm going to show you what's happening with the Federal Reserve, which is not federal nor is a reserve. Think about this in 1907. Before 1907, they had about 30 different currencies in the United States. What are we going into now, guys? Stable coins, WLFI, World Liberty Financial, a bank that is decentralized, peer-to-peer. Bitcoin, peer-to-peer. It's energy, it's frequency, it's vibration. You can say it's going to zero. Bitcoin's not going to zero. Xrp is not going anywhere. And again, I don't care if you invest in digital assets. What I care is that you learn that what you're being paid in is debt. And when you work your ass off for 30 years, when you retire, you're paid in debt. And that debt that you're paid in has been devalued over 40 years in half with 2 to 3% inflation. So unfortunately, there is no get rich quick, but there is an opportunity for you to take advantage of the greatest shift in economic history. But here's the rub, is if the middle class doesn't wake up, they're going to get wiped out, leveraged towards technology, moved down to the working poor. So here's what I want to talk about today. Is in July 2025, this is Rep. Anna Paula Luna. She formally referred to the Federal Reserve Chair, Jerome Powell, and the Department of Justice for potentially pre-jury and false statements to Congress and senior administrative officials. I laid out in detail how Jerome Powell lied under oath to Congress and misrepresented the facts in an official communication to senior administration officials, including OMB Director Russell Vought. Unelected bureaucrats do not get a free pass. This is exactly why oversight exists, and I'm thankful that the Department of Justice is taking this seriously. No one is above the law. So now Jerome Powell is under federal investigation. Okay. This was posted by Alex Jones. The pre-vet Federal Reserve is literally 80% owned by private Rothschild banking family. Nationalize the Fed should be Trump's #1 goal. That's what I want you to see right here. Okay. Nationalizing the Fed should be Trump's #1 goal. They are not federal nor their reserve. What do I mean by that? They're not part of the government. Okay. They don't have reserves. They can just print money. And how do they gain control? Through war and weaponization of the dollar. What did Biden do as soon as Russia invaded Ukraine? Pulled them off the SWIFT system. That era is dead. Okay. You got to understand that's why it's so uncomfortable right now, guys. It is going to be really uncomfortable if you're not paying attention. But when you're paying attention, you can see the economic flow, the spiritual changes. You flow with it. Okay. Again, you become a warrior in a garden versus a gardener in a war. You can argue all day. You can't stop what's about to happen. So, latest for Jerome Powell is pushing back against the DOJ criminal probe, calling it pretext by Trump administration to kill the Federal Reserve independence. Exactly. You nailed it, brother. You nailed it, Jerome Powell. Jerome Powell is pushing back. I'll read it one more time against the DOJ probe, calling the pretext by the Trump administration to kill the Federal Reserve independence. Yes, I 100% agree. And I'm not going to play this video, but it says banks are in panic when Trump moves to slash credit card rates. You're starting to see, and this is why, look at this, guys. I've been trying to tell everyone, I posted this. The future of banking is here, right? This is my #3 holding. I'm not telling you to invest in WFI. I'm just telling you what I do. WL is in Larry, FI, mumble, sorry. I'm trying to slow down my voice inflection a little bit. But World Liberty Financial has launched crypto lending platform powered by Dolomite that allows users to borrow and lend digital assets using USD1 alongside other coins and collateral. 1907, we had about 30 different currencies in America. And hopefully I get that number right. We had a lot of different currencies in America. Banks had their own currencies. Guys, we're heading back to that era where gold, silver, I'm buying copper now, stability, insurance, land, okay? Bitcoin, XRP, the rails. You got to start thinking ownership, guys. Ownership, okay? I really need you to start thinking about that. What does ownership look like to you? For me, and I'll bring up my defensive and offensive strategy in just a moment here. Sorry, let me get through this because I get sidetracked. Okay, this is really cool. This just actually hit right now. Trump trade supports Trump's family and Witkoff family's bank. Trump supported pairs on Solana natively using USD1. Trojan, the fucking Trojan, the name, excuse my language. It's not by chance. The Trojan horse has enabled full U. That's funny. Is that what it's called? Trojan on Solana. Look at that. What? Wow. Trojan has enabled full USD1 integration in their new terminal, giving traders more flexibility when markets move. The Trojan horse is coming in. Let's just soak this up real quick. Oh my God. This is like we're watching a movie, guys. What the hell is going on here? Okay, the European Central Bank, not random interviewer, the ECB asking whether Ripple will transform cross-border transactions and become native to SWIFT.
Marcus, there's hardly any fintech ranking without Ripple. Ripple itself partners with numerous banks, and more than 100 financial institutions have joined Ripple's blockchain networks. Many of the live deployment and pilots currently focus on cross-border payments. Will Ripple transform cross-border transactions by becoming an alternative to SWIFT? And why does there seem to be less emphasis on domestic payments up until now?
Yes, the first question is, I think, absolutely the future is international payments that move in a microsecond, where you have absolute certainty, where you are not chasing a payment, where you have absolute clarity on the costs, and where that payment can have a value of a cent versus $20. That's the need of the world in the 21st century. So Ripple is a classic example of an infrastructure rethink, which is why I think we'll have such a big impact, and also why we're working with so many banks and payment providers.
I'll just leave it right there, guys. All right. So how do we do this, right? We can yell and scream all day and centralized system and this and and so what do we do, right? What do we do? So here's what I did. I created what's called Capital DR. I trademarked it. Okay. Capital DR, again, I don't care what you invest in. I'm going to share with you what I have conviction in, and what my goal is to teach you to have conviction, because blind leadership is dead. Okay. Couple rules that I live by. I don't let anybody manage my money. Nobody. Okay. I manage my own money. I custody my own money. Number 2 rule, never leverage your crypto. It is way too volatile. People telling you to leverage your crypto, just hold it and leverage it. Guys, it's way too volatile. 10, 10, 20, 25. That's some wise counsel for you guys. Now, maybe when the asset gets more solidified and there's less volatility, that might make sense. And only if you really understand how leverage works, okay? I give the example where we leveraged our Bitcoin to buy one of our companies. We did 25% leverage on the DeFi platform, which they gave us 70% of the 25. There was no liquidation risk. And we only did it because the company was already making income. So we were able to pay it off in 6 months, right? There was zero liquidation risk. I was able to get capital very quickly at 14%. Bitcoin grows 50% every year. I was able to pay it off very quickly. And so we basically made money borrowing money. But that was very strategic. But think about that. Like the thought that went into that. I had my CFO look at, risk versus reward. Okay. Don't leverage your crypto. Manage your own crypto. That's the point of what I'm trying to say. That's the era we're in. That's why we didn't create a brokerage. That's why we didn't we're educators. We're educating people. I don't want to manage your money. I don't want to hold. I want to teach you how to manage your own. And head of household, women and men who are head of your household, because there's a lot of men who are not taking care of their responsibilities. So there's a lot of women. Thank you to you guys who are stepping up into that role. Thank you. God bless you. Is you got to get your shit together. And this is where I'm going to start losing people. And that's okay. That's okay, because I want to speak to your heart. Is think about this, man. You are trusting another man that when you're 62, you're going to walk in there and be like, hey, man, how do we do? He's like, hey, I got you 4% on $1 million and you're going to get 40,000. You're like, what do you mean $40,000 in retirement income per year? I can't live off that. That's your fault. That's your fault. You should be saving, then spending. You should be looking at your budget every single week. You should be running your family like a business. You should know what's going in. You should know what's going out. You should build discipline, systems, and structure. Your job as a man is to create safety and stability. That's what a man does, physically, spiritually, and financially. That's divine masculine. This isn't about toxic masculinity. This is true masculinity. A true masculine man who allows the divine feminine to really step into her magnetization. When you're a man, physically, spiritually, and financially, you provide safety and security. Man, what a partnership that is, because the woman can expand you. But men, we're sloppy physically. Look around. We're sloppy spiritually. Going into a church on Wednesday because you can do Bible verses and you do your prayer studies with your buddies, but you're sloppy. You're watching porn and you're doing all this different stuff. Guys, get your shit together, man. What's done in darkness comes to light. And then financially, we have no idea what's going on with our finances. We're buried in debt. You have $100,000 truck and you make $100,000 a year. I know this is real talk and it might hurt some of you and you might get upset and you might unfollow me, but this is real. This is the system that they created for us, guys. This is a monetary debt enslavement trap. But we can get out of it. It's going to take some buckling down. It's going to take some tough conversations with your family. It's going to take you getting your shit together spiritually, physically, and financially. And it's going to take you start leading this household, stepping up and saying, hey, we're going to make some changes, family, and take your family with you. Explain your kids what's going on. Stop hiding the finances from them. You don't want to tell them about the finances because you're sloppy in finances. And why am I saying this? Because that was me. I'm not speaking to you to condemn you. I'm telling you who I was. And I was tired of it. I had to move back in with my parents at 43. That's embarrassing until it's not. And I finally looked myself in the mirror and I said, JV, you're a sloppy mother effer, dude. You're sloppy. Don't ever put your family in a position ever again where you can't take care of them. And a man and woman can walk into your business during pandemic and they took away my ability to take care of me. That was my fault. That was my fault. And so I built systems, structure, process, safety, fluidity. I built an offensive strategy and a defensive strategy. And here it is. I create cash flow. So when crypto went up, I didn't buy Lambos, Ferraris, big watches, and flex. I bought cash flow. I scaled my businesses. And when I got cash flow from the businesses, okay, I built more cash flow, richest man in Babylon. Then when my cash flow goes up every single week, I buy more assets that beat inflation. The dollar is trash. So I move into assets that I believe are going to beat inflation. Okay, we got XRP, I got Bitcoin, I got WLFI, Solana, HBAR, VeChain. Those are my top 7. I'm going to consolidate into the top 4 very soon. Okay, when the markets go where I think they're going to. You don't need a bunch of cryptos. You need to pick a few winners that are going to survive regulation, Warren Buffett style. I have ABTC, XXI. Those are long-term holds. I just started dollar cost average into Berkshire for a defensive strategy. Okay. And I just started dollar cost averaging back into silver. I have silver, but I started dollar cost averaging into silver. Okay. I should have followed my gut 9 months ago. I didn't. I admit that. And I'm dollar cost averaging silver. And now I'm dollar cost averaging into copper. Okay. There's offensive is my digital assets that go up. My defensive is Berkshire, silver, copper, and then insurance, which is P. So when you guys go up and rubberneck and watch it go up and go down because these influencers are telling you not to sell and don't sell. Bullshit. Get some money off the table. Protect it. Trust me, the era we're in, you need to protect your wealth. So I pull out and I put it into cash value life insurance first. 10% goes into cash generated dividends to create more cash flow. Money goes on the sidelines into a stable coin to buy the fear when everybody's running from the markets. Okay. And then we're also going to start stacking more copper, more silver, more Berkshire for stability. So we have a defensive and an offensive strategy. And then I have L. So when everybody's panicking and buying new cars and doing all this stuff because they lowered interest rates, I'm borrowing from my bank and I'm leveraging and I'm buying more cash flow and assets. That's capital DR. Then I repeat the system and I de-risk, de-risk, de-risk. My family ecosystem is run like a business. I know what's going in. I know what's going out. I have zero credit card debt. I'm not giving the banks my money. If I get debt, it is for growth, for cash flow. Okay, here's the rub. It was difficult. It was hard, but it's possible. And here's the other beautiful thing is that we have a transition of a financial system, and I made more money in crypto from 2020 to 2022. I would have made my whole life as an executive. And I knew that wasn't realistic. And so I didn't believe the crypto bros, the hype and the bullshit. I don't believe price predictions. I don't listen to the hopium. There's a reason why people hype you up like that, guys. It's just not how winning is done. It's not how winning is done. Winning is done through discipline, discipleship. That's what a disciple is, disciplined, structure, systems, processes, and feeding it. Now, can you make a large amount of money in a shorter amount of time? Absolutely. You can. People did that in Amazon. People did that in Google. Some people are going to, I believe in Xrp and Bitcoin. But what goes up comes down, guys. Think about that. You got to build the structure. Study Richest Man in Babylon, Cash Flow Quadrant, Secrets of the Millionaire Mind. Read books like this. Stop following hype, guys. Study Warren Buffett, Charlie Munger. Learn how to read financial statements. It's the boring stuff. It is the boring stuff. So I'll get off my soapbox. I have a huge project I'm working on behind the scenes. I'm going to keep it totally under wraps, but I will need your guys' support when I launch that project because I'm going to launch something that is going to provide education worldwide and help demystify this and help explain to people what's happening, but what to do about it. I think that's the biggest part. So I love you guys. I appreciate you. If you need any support at all, we do have an education academy down below. I want to make that very clear. If someone's DMing you, WhatsApp, Telegram, that is not us. You don't need to transfer your crypto to a Web3 wallet. That's a scam. Those are all scammers out there. We have an education academy. Okay. We do not invest people's money. Down below, you'll see the capital DR thing. You can join to interview with my team to see if you're a good fit, or in my social media platform. I'd love to work with you. If not, I have tons of free content on my YouTube channel here, or if you're on Twitter, just click the link. You'll get over to my YouTube. So I love you guys. I appreciate you. Warriors, let's get your shit together. God bless you.